The Galactic Council chamber floated above Tau Ceti Prime like a cathedral carved from starlight. Walls of liquid crystal shimmered with reflected suns, and in the center of the assembly ring stood a single human, impossibly small compared to the towering aliens encircling him. Ambassador Chen's gray suit was simple, unadorned, almost primitive beside the ceremonial armor of the delegates. Yet his gaze was steady. Across the chamber, General Tvor of the Vrakesh Legion flexed his scaled arms, claws scraping against the marble-like floor. His voice rolled through the air, low and resonant. Ambassador Chen, you request that humanity be allowed to participate in the Concord's defense exercises? Yes, Chen replied evenly. Earth is ready to demonstrate its capabilities. The laughter that followed sounded like thunder through a canyon. The crystalline envoy of Threx shimmered with amusement. The mist-bodied Nath rippled with color, the gesture their species used to mock. Tvor leaned forward, fangs glinting beneath the chamber lights. Your planet still harbors wildlife. Do you expect soldiers raised among beasts and diseases to compete with the finest armies of the galaxy? Chen smiled faintly. We do. The Vrakesh general snorted, his breath fogging the air. Name your arena, Terran. I will indulge your fantasy before your species embarrasses itself. Earth, Chen said. The Amazon Reclamation Zone. The laughter stopped. Even the automated scribes hesitated in their endless transcriptions. Tvor's crimson eyes narrowed. You propose a battlefield of trees? A living environment, Chen corrected. It's where we train our best. The council whispered among themselves. Finally, the Speaker of Concord lifted a staff. The motion is accepted. A controlled exercise shall take place on Earth. If humanity endures 72 hours against the Supreme Legion, they will be recognized as a capable military force. Tvor's grin exposed the Predator's pleasure. 72 hours? I will finish in one. Chen bowed slightly. You're welcome to try. 2 weeks later, the Vrakesh flagship Judicator Prime descended through orbit, trailing lightning across the upper atmosphere. Below, the Amazon Reclamation Zone sprawled across what was once South America, a green sea pulsing with mist and thunder. From orbit, it looked almost beautiful. From the surface, it was death incarnate. Inside the command deck, Tvor surveyed hollow feeds as rain clouds surged over the canopy. Moisture saturation, 93%. An officer reported. Biological density exceeds our projections. Primitive excess, Tvor muttered. Deploy the Legion. Dropships cut through the storm, each carrying platoons of armored soldiers whose armor pulsed with blue plasma. They hit the canopy like meteors, scattering flocks of glowing birds into the clouds. To the aliens, it felt like conquest. Far below, in the steaming undergrowth, Captain Elena, Hawk, Navarro adjusted the camouflage mesh draped over her shoulders. The nanofibers rippled with her movement, blending her into the surrounding vines. Her HUD flickered with soft green icons, her squad scattered through the foliage, silent, waiting. Command confirms drop zones, Sergeant Imani Clark whispered through the comlink. Multiple signatures east and south. Big, loud, and glowing like idiots. Elena smirked. Good. Let them light the path. Even after years of training in artificial jungles and VR combat simulators, nothing matched the real thing. The air here tasted like metal and rain. The ground pulsed with life, roots shifting, insects humming, the faint electric current of engineered flora whispering beneath her boots. A soft ping sounded in her ear. Recon drones, disguised as dragonflies, streamed live feeds of the alien landing zones. Dozens of Vrakesh soldiers waded through swamps, their sensors flashing with false readings. One cursed as a snake wrapped around his boot, another fired at movement, striking only missed. Elena crouched, studying their formation. Too rigid. Too predictable. They're trying to map terrain, she said quietly. Jungle's already rewriting itself. Give them an hour, they'll be walking in circles. Clark chuckled. They wanted a test. Let's make it educational. From orbit, Tvor's command crews scrambled to maintain satellite connections. The electromagnetic field of the reclamation zone was unlike anything in Concord archives, layered with artificial interference from ancient climate control tech and the wild pulse of uncontrolled growth. Data feeds flickered, then died. "Visual telemetry failing," said a technician. "Environmental mapping impossible," Tvor growled. "Deploy ground scanners." On the surface, one of the alien sergeants raised a sensor pole. Its beam cut through the fog, mapping heat signatures, hundreds of them. But when he turned, all he saw were trees. The scanner beeped erratically. Thousands of life signs, too many to distinguish. "The planet itself is alive," murmured an aide. "Every world is alive," Tvor snapped. "We dominate them all." Elena and her squad moved silently through the canopy. Each soldier carried a lightweight rifle, but their true weapon was the environment. The JSF had spent decades merging with the jungle, neural implants tuned to plant frequencies, drone clusters that communicated through the hum of insects, adaptive camouflage that grew moss when idle. They didn't fight in the jungle. They fought as part of it. Elena paused beside a massive root the size of a transport truck. Embedded nodes blinked faintly along its length, the invisible network of Gaianet, an Earth defense system integrated into the biosphere itself. She pressed a gloved hand to the surface, syncing her HUD. Data poured in, humidity levels, motion patterns, electromagnetic anomalies. Every leaf, every raindrop, reported back to her. "Visual on main column," Clark whispered. "East route. Looks like 200 strong. Hold positions," Elena ordered. "No engagement yet." She watched through her scope as the alien line moved awkwardly through the terrain, slicing foliage with plasma blades. They looked like armored statues trying to dance. For every step they took, something in the forest shifted, branches bending, shadows deepening. Elena's team waited until the last alien vanished into the mist. Then she gave a quiet nod. "Mark them." Tiny icons appeared on her visor as drones attached tracking spores to the enemy armor. Each one emitted a faint bioluminescent pulse visible only through JSF optics. "Targets painted," Clark confirmed. "Good. Now we learn." Hours passed. The storm thickened, and the aliens' discipline began to fray. One squad commander reported missing soldiers. Another complained of compass loops, their instruments spinning endlessly. The jungle distorted magnetic fields, echoes, even sound. Back on the flagship, Tvor slammed his clawed fist on the console. "Why can't we get real-time telemetry? Interference is organic, sir. It adapts faster than we can recalibrate." "Then burn it," he snarled. "Fire cleansing protocols." A pulse cannon flared from orbit, a streak of light cutting through the clouds. But by the time it reached the ground, the storm absorbed it, scattering the blast across miles of canopy. The jungle hissed, steaming, alive again moments later. Tvor's snarl deepened. "Ridiculous world." On the ground, Elena's visor displayed the faint echo of the blast miles away. She exhaled slowly. "They're impatient." "Already?" Clark's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. "Good. Frustrated soldiers make mistakes." Elena adjusted her rifle and glanced toward the glowing icons on her map. The aliens were spreading wider, losing formation. The jungle whispered around her, almost eager. "This isn't a battlefield," she said quietly. "It's a trap they walked into." Rain dripped from the leaves as her squad melted back into the green, their shapes dissolving into shadow. Above them, thunder rolled through the night like distant laughter. "Phase 1 complete," she murmured into the calm. "Now we hunt." And in the orbiting flagship, General Tvor leaned forward, glaring at the chaotic mess of vanishing signals on his display, unaware that the game he thought he controlled had already turned against him. Night fell over the Amazon reclamation zone like a living shadow, thick and wet. Mist clung to the forest floor, rising in ghostly curtains from the riverbeds and pools left by the afternoon rain. The canopy above shivered under the pulse of the storm, lightning cracking the sky in jagged threads. Somewhere in that endless green, the Supreme Legion of the Galactic Concord moved blindly, confident and unaware. Captain Elena, Hawk, Navarro perched on a massive strangler root, her body still against the rough bark. Her eyes glowed faintly through the biolenses integrated into her helmet, scanning heat signatures and electromagnetic patterns. Hundreds of small flickers, almost imperceptible, moved across the terrain below, her drones, disguised as fireflies, feeding her the jungle's secrets. 2 squads east, Sergeant Imani Clark whispered through the comlink. They're straggling. Sensors pinging chaos. Elena's jaw tightened. Good. Let them think the jungle swallowed them. She signaled her team, and they moved like shadows, climbing higher into the canopy. Every branch was a vantage point, every leaf a potential sensor. The JSF didn't hunt in straight lines, they flowed through the jungle, anticipating how the forest itself would betray the enemy. Down below, the first alien patrol stumbled. A single soldier raised his plasma rifle, scanning for movement, but the jungle played tricks, shadows twisting, bioluminescent fungi pulsing in patterns that mimicked human heat signatures. He fired once, then froze as something large and fast brushed past. Nothing was visible, yet a faint, humming vibration ran through his armor. They're ghosts, the alien muttered, fear rising in his mechanical voice. From above, a dart embedded itself in his armor, and he collapsed silently into the undergrowth. Elena's team didn't cheer, they barely exhaled. Precision, not bloodlust. The hunt had just begun. In the command deck of the Judicator Prime, Dvor's patience thinned like smoke. Status report, he demanded. Sir, squads reporting missing personnel. Sensors failing. Environmental readings unpredictable, replied a technician, voice tight with unease. Impossible, Dvor snapped. I have scanned this world. We control every variable. Every tree. Every storm. Not this one, sir. The jungle adapts. Dvor's claws struck the console. Then force it to submit. Below, the second alien patrol moved cautiously through the marshes, their exosuits crunching wet foliage. Every step was a trap. Vines that seemed harmless at first curled around their boots, sticky and sinewy, while hidden roots shifted to trip and redirect them into natural pits. Motion sensors pinged endlessly, creating false alerts. One soldier panicked, swinging his weapon blindly into a wall of glowing leaves, and a third disappeared into the fog with only a muffled scream remaining. Command, the squad leader transmitted, voice strained. We're lost. The jungle is alive. Elena watched the feed silently. The beauty of the operation wasn't just in their kills, it was in the orchestration. The drones in the jungle were one network, responsive and adaptive. Bioluminescent spores released from drones lit certain paths while masking others, guiding alien troops into dead zones. The AI integrated into the forest flora calculated angles and predicted movement faster than the Legion could adapt. Phase 2, Elena murmured. Let's teach them why they shouldn't laugh. From the canopy, the JSF deployed soft, organic devices, tiny pods that emitted low-frequency pulses. They resonated with the roots and branches, amplifying every movement, every drop of water. Alien sensors screamed with false signals. The soldiers below ducked and dodged shadows that weren't there, saw heat signatures where no human existed. One fired at a bush, only to have it lash back, roots striking with a calculated precision. They think they control technology, Clark said, voice tinged with humor. But they're swimming in instinct. Elena's visor tracked multiple squads now, each one disoriented, scattered, and panicking. Yet the real danger wasn't the initial ambush. It was the way the jungle forced them to make mistakes, turning their confidence into chaos. Hours passed. The storm intensified, wind whipping through branches, rain filling the canopy with a ceaseless hiss. Alien squads tried to regroup, but every signal was intercepted or distorted by the forest's natural interference, amplified by the JSF's bio-network. Dvor's patience snapped. Deploy all drones, he roared. Send an orbital recon. If I cannot see them, I will destroy them. Drones launched, but the moment they entered the storm and the spore-saturated air, their optics failed. Cameras blurred, sensors jammed. One drone fell into a gnarled root trap and was shredded before it hit the ground. Another was dragged into a shallow stream, short-circuited, and lost. "I told you," Elena whispered, watching from her perch. "Never fight the jungle on its own terms." The first real casualties for the JSF occurred late in the night. Two operatives, attempting to lure a squad into a preset ambush, miscalculated a shifting root bridge. Plasma fire erupted, and they went down. Elena's heart tightened. Loss was always part of the equation, but she didn't falter. "Report," she said quietly. Clark's voice came back, calm despite the tension. "Confirmed. 2 lost. Phase 3 ready." Elena nodded. "Operation Green Veil." The drones released nanite spores into the rain-saturated air. They fused with the jungle's bioluminescence, amplifying heat signatures and creating ghost images of human soldiers across the battlefield. Every alien sensor was overwhelmed with hundreds of false contacts. Some saw entire platoons where there were none, others froze, hearing human voices whispering from all directions. "They're panicking," Clark reported. "They can't distinguish illusion from reality." A lone Legion soldier stumbled into a thicket of reactive vines. They wrapped around him like snakes, tightening. He struggled, firing wildly, until the vines pulled him into darkness. His screams faded beneath the storm. From orbit, Tvor's display filled with red alerts. "What sorcery is this?" he bellowed. "Sir, biological interference, integrated AI, unexpected," his aide replied. "Impossible," Tvor growled. "They are primitives. They've adapted to the jungle," the technician corrected, fear in his voice. Tvor hissed through clenched teeth. "Then we escalate. Rules are null. Fire at will. End this farce." The first orbital plasma strikes scorched treetops, but the forest absorbed most of the energy. Roots and branches shifted to redirect blasts. The mist carried heat and sound away, masking the true positions of the JSF. Elena's squad barely stirred. They were ghosts amidst the storm, watching the aliens flail against a jungle that fought with them. "Good," Elena whispered. "They're learning. The more they struggle, the faster they fall." By dawn, the Supreme Legion had suffered heavy losses. Their formations were shattered, morale broken. Patrols reported hallucinations, phantom movements, and voices in the mist. Orbital satellites could no longer map movement accurately. Every strike only further revealed their vulnerability to the forest's adaptive defenses. Elena watched the first rays of sunlight pierce the canopy, illuminating the glowing spore clouds still drifting among the trees. Her squad regrouped silently, checking systems and weapons. Clark broke the silence. "They'll bring him down," she said. "Tvor. Personally." Elena's gaze swept the horizon. The storm had passed, but the battle was far from over. "Let him come," she said softly, adjusting her helmet. "The jungle has more lessons to teach." And somewhere in orbit, a warlord's red eyes flared with fury, realizing for the first time that the primitives he had mocked were not only surviving, they were controlling the battlefield itself. Dawn bled through the Amazon reclamation zone in long, golden streaks, cutting through the mist that lingered like a ghost over the swampy floor. The jungle, alive and alert, hummed quietly, sensing the approaching threat. Captain Elena, Hawk, Navarro crouched atop a massive kapok tree, rain still dripping from the leaves above, her body merged seamlessly with living camouflage. Every muscle was coiled, every sensor trained on the distant glow of an approaching drop zone. Below, the Supreme Legion's flagship, Judicator Prime, had dispatched General Tvor personally. The warlord's towering exosuit gleamed in the filtered light, plasma cores pulsing along his chest, claws long and sharpened, optics scanning, calculating, ready for carnage. He had witnessed the Legion's failures firsthand and intended to settle the matter himself. "Command confirms drop at Sector Serpent," whispered Sergeant Imani Clark through the comlink, voice low but steady. "He's coming. Alone. Full armor, maximum firepower." Elena nodded, fingers tightening around her rifle. "Good. Let's give him the lesson the others couldn't learn." The jungle shifted beneath Tvor's arrival, an unspoken warning. Roots moved like serpents, leaves whispered warnings in rustling tongues, and fog curled around his towering exosuit. Yet he advanced with deliberate force, slicing through the undergrowth, confident that his technology alone could dominate the terrain. From her perch, Elena studied his path. Every exosuit thrash displaced the ground slightly, every plasma hum reflected in the mist. Her drones, disguised as dragonflies, flitted around him, tracking movement, feeding her live maps. She could anticipate his every step without leaving cover. "Remember," she said into her calm, "he is fast, but predictable. He trusts his tech more than instinct. We will turn that against him." Tvor entered a clearing, armor glinting, plasma sword raised. "Show yourself, Terran!" he roared, voice amplified by the suit. "Face me!" Elena shifted slightly, remaining in shadow. "I am here," she whispered. Her team mirrored her, invisible in the periphery, blending into the mist, their presence only hinted by faint bioluminescent pulses of the jungle network. The first volley of plasma fired, scorching tree trunks and hissing against thick vines. Elena ducked behind a mass of roots, the exosuit's targeting systems fooled by decoy projections generated from drones. A humanoid shape appeared to charge from one side. She rolled along a branch, striking a remote sensor that triggered a reactive vine, rapping and jerking violently. The decoy gone, the real team repositioned. Tvor snarled, claws swinging to cut the illusions apart. Every strike encountered resistance, vines that shifted unpredictably, branches that twisted, creating moving walls. The warlord's sensors flared red with warnings. "Impossible!" he hissed, overloading optics. The jungle, alive with bionanite augmentation, responded. Elena released the next phase, Echo Pulse. Tiny drones projected auditory illusions, footsteps, whispers, even commands scattered across the clearing. Tvor's HUD registered dozens of human presences where none existed. Each illusion reinforced the next, creating a maze of confusion. He roared, swinging wildly. His plasma blades scorched air and roots alike, but the real targets were already moving, already striking from angles unseen. Elena's team darted through high branches, firing microelectric darts into weak points in his armor, disrupting minor systems. Sparks flickered across the surface of his exosuit. "Predictable," she muttered. "Every move tells a story. Every strike leaves a clue." Tvor's rage escalated, and the ground beneath him shifted, not by intention, but by the adaptive bionetwork responding to his brute force. Roots lifted, snaking around his legs. Vines coiled like serpents, resisting his thrashes. His plasma core flared uncontrollably as feedback surged from the electroreactive flora. "You will fall!" he bellowed, striking blindly. "Elena!" Clark's voice crackled through the calm. "He's losing stability. Time for the final lure." Elena nodded, heart steady. She led the warlord deeper into Sector Serpent, a part of the jungle modified by the JSF for maximum advantage. The terrain was deceptive, pits hidden beneath shallow water, roots acting as trip lines, mud that masked true depth, and fog that refracted light in confusing angles. Every step Tvor took brought him closer to the trap. From above, Elena observed. The warlord's stride faltered as the jungle closed in. The ground beneath his boots, engineered with mycelium and reactive roots, began to shift unpredictably. His optics flared red, warning signals screamed. He swung wildly, but each strike met only moving air or decoys. "Almost there," Elena murmured. With a sudden command, she activated the final system, Constrictor. Roots and vines, augmented with AI-responsive nanites, surged from the undergrowth, wrapping around the exosuit with immense force. Tvor roared in fury, thrashing and cutting, but the jungle's grip tightened, immobilizing him slowly but inexorably. Sparks flew as plasma cores overloaded, and the hum of electricity clashed with the organic pulse of the forest. "Elena Navarro!" The warlord hissed through clenched jaws, voice distorted by feedback. "This is chaos! I control all! You don't control life," she replied softly, stepping from the shadows. Mud streaked her face, leaves tangled in her hair, eyes shining with calm precision. Life controls you. A final surge from the mycelium network destabilized the exosuit's systems. Plasma coils sparked violently, and the warlord screamed as the jungle swallowed him, roots coiling like living chains. The air vibrated with tension, then fell silent. Mist drifted lazily across the clearing, concealing the destroyed exosuit and the defeated general. Elena lowered her rifle, scanning for remaining threats. The Supreme Legion forces in the surrounding area hesitated, scattered, their sensors useless, morale shattered. Orbital surveillance was useless against the adaptive jungle and its human operators. Status? Clark's voice was calm but tinged with awe. Clear, Elena said. She exhaled, letting the tension leave her shoulders. They underestimated the jungle, and they underestimated us. Hours later, the fleet hovered in orbit, silent and uncertain. The Concord Council demanded reports, but none could accurately assess the events below. Earth's ambassador transmitted the summary. Simulation concluded. Human forces intact. Supreme Legion incapacitated. No further explanation would satisfy the alien delegates, and none would be forthcoming. Elena stood with her squad atop the canopy, watching the mist recede under the rising sun. Each soldier was mud-streaked, fatigued, but alive. Clark broke the silence, half smiling. They'll be back, she said softly. Elena shook her head, a smirk playing on her lips. Not without bug spray. The jungle around them pulsed quietly, victorious yet vigilant. Roots shifted, leaves trembled with the pulse of life, and the mist rose like a curtain over the reclaimed battlefield. The humans had emerged not only victorious but integrated, part of the world that had fought with them. Elena's gaze swept the horizon. The forest stretched infinitely, alive and untamed. She whispered, almost to herself. They mocked our wilderness. Now it haunts their nightmares. And somewhere in orbit, a red glare burned across the Judicator Prime's hull. General Tvor would live to plan again, but he would never forget the lesson. Earth was no primitive world. Humanity was no mere prey. The jungle exhaled around them, alive, watching, and undefeated. And so were the humans who called it home.